It is my honor, privilege, and pleasure to introduce our Rotary International President-elect and incoming 2023 Rotary President, Gordon McInally.
Well, thank you so much for that wonderful welcome, and I will take great delight in telling my 5-year-old granddaughter Ivy how well her grandpa was received at Southwest PETS. And thank you also for the mention of my love of rugby. This is a good day to be a Scotsman, because this afternoon in London, Scotland beat England at rugby. It's actually the third time in a row. It's getting to be a bit boring, but it is so good to be here this evening, and I want to start out by saying thank you so much for the kind invitation. I'm just starting out on what is an 8-week tour of duty that'll see me attend around 20 PETS across not only the US but also into Europe and in Central America. So you're either very lucky that I am still fresh or unlucky in that I'm still finding my feet on what my predecessors tell me is the PETS treadmill. As I say, I'm so grateful, and at the outset I want to go on record as saying how grateful I am for the chance to be here and for the welcome you have given me since I arrived here last night. From the moment I stepped into the hotel, everyone has been so kind, and I have felt so at home. And I might tell you that doesn't always happen in Rotary circles. I remember going to address the Rotary Club of London, England, early in my term as RI Director. Because I was new to the job, I was anxious to make a good impression. So I arrived 45 minutes early, 45 minutes before the meeting was due to start, and that was mistake number 1. I was the only person there, in a room much the same size as this. So I made my way from one end of the room to the other end of the room where there was a bar, and I bought myself a drink. And that, my friends, is not an easy thing for a Scotsman to do. But I awaited the arrival of my fellow Rotarians, and after around 20 minutes, the duty member for the day arrived and walked the length of the room to where I was standing. Now, he had obviously been selected for the job as the brightest button in that particular Rotary Club's box, because he looked me in the eye and said, "So, are you visiting the club today?" I said yes, and he then glanced down at the Rotary pin in my lapel and asked a further question. "Oh, are you a Rotarian then?" Again, I said yes. And it was then, only then, that he hit me with a sucker punch as he said, "Ha! You chose the wrong day. We've got the new director of Rotary International speaking to us." So believe me when I say your welcome was 1,000,000 times better than the welcome I received there. Do you know, even now, I am still pinching myself that I really am President-elect of this great organisation. It is a privilege and a pleasure to be so. I said last June in my acceptance remarks at the Houston Convention that I would be standing on the shoulders of giants, those who had gone before me as RI President. But as I look around this room this evening, I realise that I will also be standing among giants. The giants from the 9 districts at this event who will lead our Rotary clubs in the year 2023-24. The giants who will create hope in the world. This is a great time to be a member of Rotary because we're in the middle of a wonderful historic year, and we are being handed the reins of leadership at a very opportune moment. A historic moment, when Rotary has a chance to capture the world's attention and to point the way beyond our current expectations. Yet, like me, I'm sure that you know some of our best work is going to be spent supporting and continuing the efforts of others. I've always been a great advocate of continuity in Rotary, and I've tried to practice that at every level of Rotary leadership, be it at the club, the district, or the zone. And I certainly don't want to jettison that belief now. I believe strongly in the concept of Rotary's years, plural, where there is a seamless transition between leaders, rather than the concept of my year, singular, where one individual takes us in one direction, only for other individuals to take us in different directions in subsequent years, before we often end up right back where we started. Where individuals will not embark on any initiatives that do not complete in their year because they're worried they won't get the credit for it. Waldo Emerson, the 19th century philosopher, said this: "There is no limit to what can be achieved if it doesn't matter who gets the credit." And I agree with him. I'm not bothered about who gets the credit for something, as long as that something is worthwhile and is done properly. And I have been extremely fortunate this year to have been able to work and support President Jennifer, and I've already started to do the same with President nominee Stephanie Urchik in a spirit of true continuity that we hope will see Rotary move forward on a straight and a steady and an ever-improving course towards an ever-better future. And I would urge you to do the same within your clubs. Build upon what other Rotary leaders have started and make it possible for even greater achievements ahead. Now, I'm not going to embarrass you by asking for a show of hands, but I'm sure many of you will have heard, read, or seen my speech in Orlando at the International Assembly outlining my plans for our year together. And if not, why not? Time precludes me from repeating these in detail this evening, but if I may, I'd like to touch on a couple of things I would really like to see us get into during our year together. They feature in the last statement of our vision statement. That statement, as you know, says, "Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves." And so to do this, I want to focus on 2 specific ways that we can bring these 2 visions to life. Firstly, in our communities, by putting a greater focus on peace. I have absolutely no doubt that the founders of this great organisation would have been proud of the work we have done in the past year to support the people of Ukraine as they have faced the brutal and unprovoked war with Russia. As we have done so many times in the past, Rotary has answered history's call and put humanitarian relief first. We have donated generously. We have supported our fellow members wholeheartedly. And we have earned the respect of the Ukrainian people who continue to join us in ever greater numbers. And I think that is a wonderful statement about engaging and attracting members. But we know that true relief will not come for the Ukrainian people, nor for that matter for the Russian people, until there is peace. And the same is the case in Yemen, in Afghanistan, in Syria, and in dozens of other places of conflict across the globe, including here in the US and in my own country of the United Kingdom, where we see violence and killings on an almost daily basis. Peace is the soil where hope takes root. And we till this soil every time we create new connections between people and find new opportunities for commonality, something that is within our power to do. In Rotary, we know that peace is not a passive dream. It is an outcome of hard work, earned trust, and often difficult conversations. We know that peace must be waged persistently and bravely, because the bravest goal a human being can set is the pursuit of peace. And in Rotary, everything we do across all our areas of focus helps create the hope that in turn makes peace and redemption possible. At the Assembly, I spoke of the lady from Thailand who helped me realise that the theme for our year together should be Create Hope in the World, with her story of how Rotary had given her hope after the tsunami of 2004. That tsunami devastated so much of Southeast Asia, and it robbed that lady of her livelihood, her home, and her family. But I have seen time and time again just how Rotary has created hope, and how Rotary has helped people find peace and redemption. Let me tell you about Espérance. Heather and I first met Espérance in 2007. She was an orphan of the Rwandan genocide of the mid-1990s, and when we first met her at the age of about 16, she was head of her household, caring for a brother and two sisters in Rwanda's capital of Kigali. At that time, she was being helped through school by a joint project between Rotary in Great Britain and Ireland and Hope and Homes for Children. We next met Espérance a couple of years later, when she was about to finish school and was very keen to go on to further education. Sadly, funding for that was not available, and it looked as if she would miss out on the opportunity and would have to scrabble to survive like so many of her peers in that country. Heather and I quickly decided that we would support her through her further education, and she enrolled in university at Kigali. All went well until her final year, when she was mugged on her way to university to pay her fees, and despite repeated attempts to contact her, dropped off our radar. Having not heard from her for some time, she got in touch with us again just around the time I was nominated as RI President, to say how grateful she had been to us for what we had done for her all those years ago. She spoke about how when she was first supported by Rotary, she was at rock bottom, with no future, with no hope, but that the support she had been given had given her hope. Hope for a future that until then she could not have imagined. She also spoke about how much she would like to return and complete her final year at university. I took the liberty of contacting the Rotary Club of Kigali Virunga to see if they could help. And without hesitation, they took her under their wing, helped her back into education, and supported her through her final year of studies. I am delighted to tell you that Espérance, the girl whose name translates from the French as hope, graduated on the 16th of December last year and started her first real job in Kigali last month. The self-respect to which she was entitled had been given. The hope she had craved had been created. So in crafting what is not my theme for this incoming Rotary year, but our theme, I wanted to drill down to what we were all about. I wanted to issue a call to action. And I thought of that lady from Thailand. I thought about that serendipitous message I had from Espérance back in the late summer of 2021. And I thought about all the other people I had met down the years. And I realized that hope is what we're all about. It is the building block on which all of our Rotary service is founded. Create hope in the world. This is how Rotary brings lasting change in the world. One newly created hope at a time. And it also begins to explain how we help create a similar kind of change within ourselves, the second part of the vision statement I referenced earlier. Because for many people on this planet, lost hope is not just a function of material poverty. All of us face challenges that threaten our well-being. Just as it takes tremendous courage to wage peace, so too it is brave to reach out and admit that you need help. And in the wake of the pandemic, more people than ever are hurting. Many have lost the people closest to them. Others have seen their social networks uprooted. Divisions have grown wider. Opportunities for connection have been lost. And some of those hurting the most are the children and young adults whose education and social skills building has been so badly interrupted. And to make matters worse, in many parts of the world, asking for help, especially in the field of mental health, is considered a weakness. I have seen that at all too close at hand when my brother, my only brother, Ian, descended into the depths of despair and depression that ultimately led to him taking his own life 8 years ago this coming Wednesday. Now, with the benefit of hindsight, Ian had been struggling for some time, despite being successful in his profession, and despite having the most loving wife and family, yet he could not bring himself to ask for help. Who knows why? Was it for fear of being seen as weak? Was it for fear of being judged? Or was it even for fear of being rejected? Believe me, these are questions I ask myself every day in life. But I believe one of the main reasons that Ian and so many others like him reached the point he did was that mental health remains such a taboo subject, that mental health services remain in such short supply, and that in addition to people not reaching out to help themselves, we do not ask each other the question, how are you? Or more importantly, how are you really? I've heard it said that the mental health system isn't broken, it just hasn't been built yet. Well, maybe, just maybe, Rotary maybe Rotary can, as it has with so many other things in the past, help to build it. So I believe that in Rotary we have a big part to play. Firstly, in the destigmatization of mental health. Secondly, in learning how to prevent issues whilst also making mental health services more available. And thirdly, by being there for one another and for ourselves. And lastly, for asking not only the question, how are you? But how are you really? And that is why I want us to prioritise mental health during 2023-24 and hopefully beyond. I want us to create a space where people both within and outside of Rotary feel safe talking about addressing mental health issues. I want to encourage you to take action to erase the stigma surrounding discussing emotional well-being. And I urge you to raise awareness of mental health needs for ourselves and those round about us, to work together on proven prevention techniques and to improve access to quality mental health services. It's a big and important task. It's a big and important ask. And I am asking you to become champions of this effort. Asking for help with one's mental health is not a weakness. Nothing could be further from the truth. It is brave to be vulnerable and to admit you don't have all the answers. Reaching out for help is courageous, and continuing on a path to wellness even more so. Any mental health professional, and I know there are some in this very room, will tell you that by helping others, we essentially help ourselves. The evidence overwhelmingly shows that helping others benefits our mental health and well-being by reducing stress and improving our mood. The friendships developed along the way foster an incredible sense of community and camaraderie, themselves essential ingredients to mental health and wellness. So, these are the plans for the year ahead, that we help bring peace to the world and soothe those afflicted by conflict, and that we help each other and our communities deal with our own internal struggles, and that we end the stigma associated with asking for help. In all these actions, the goal is to create hope, to help the world heal from destructive conflicts, and in turn, to help us achieve lasting change for ourselves. My friends, there is a rule among after-dinner speakers. A rule that says one should only speak for as long as one can make love. Were that the case, I would tell you that I could go on speaking for hours. However, applying the four-way test, and were Heather here with me, she would tell you that I should have probably sat down about 17 minutes ago. And speaking of my wife Heather, who many of you know, she is very sorry she can't join me this weekend. But she is a great judge of my presentations. And only last weekend I was speaking to my own Rotary Club back home in Scotland. And when I sat down, I leant across to her and I asked, "How did I do?" She whispered back, "You did okay, but you missed several good opportunities to sit down." I fear I may have done that this evening. And so before I miss another opportunity to sit down, can I close by thanking you once again for having me here this weekend, by thanking you for all you do for Rotary, and by urging you as incoming club presidents and leaders to create hope in the world. Thank you very much indeed.